Hello. Alaji, how are you?
Fine.
Who is talking about his administration will govern only on your behalf? Is he going to be talking to the people on radio or what?
This is Bola Tinubu. I think this is an except from what he said during the swearing in. And I think it was timely because if you look at the results, he performed very bad in the East. So there's this kind of resentment against APC in the southeast of the country. So it's a form of assuring people that in as much as this part didn't give me the vote, I'm still going to be, what do you call it, attentive to them. And then looking at the kind of the Buhari style, he's trying to distance from himself from Buhari. And I think he's done that perfectly well.
Oh, that's what he means by we will not rule over you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more like people feel like Buhari wasn't giving people the, if you remember the case of IPOP, and then how, what do you call this guy, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, was bundled and what do you call it?
Yes.
And I think on that particular issue, I've always said that I think Buhari actually made a Mandela out of a Hitler. Because had it been the case where Nnamdi Kanu was not arrested in the manner in which he was arrested, I think he would have just been a fringe, what do you call it, voice on the street. By arresting him, you give him that chance to appear to be victimized, and that give him that kind of. But this is Bola Tinubu trying to be his man, and I think so far he's been very decisive, very deliberate, and very calculated in his policy so far, not to distance, not to associate himself with Muhammadu Buhari in terms of style, but then maintain that that form of continuity from APC in terms of the good work. So if you look at one of the things he did was to fire what do you call the governor of the central bank.
Fola Shodun.
No. This is the acting, what do you call it? Governor he appointed.
So this Fola Shodun,
Fola Shodun, Adebisi, Shonubi.
He's the new acting governor.
Yeah, he has not been.
But why are you saying firing the governor of the central bank is a good thing? Why do Nigerians see it as a good thing?
So far, I think he's in a consolidation state. He's trying to be himself. There was this controversy about Emefiele himself. In some of the
who is Emefiele?
That's the former governor. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of the Naira redesign.
Yes. That controversial matter in the period of the election. Yeah. That was devastating.
Some people felt it was Emefiele trying to undermine Bola Tinubu's
chances of winning the election, or the APC candidates for that.
And then secondly, constitutionally, the position is supposed to be apolitical. But remember, during the primaries, he announced his intention to buy the farms. Actually,
the governor.
Yeah, the governor. So from the onset, I think that is quite, what do you call it?
So Tinubu has fired him.
He has been fired.
And and his deputy has been asked to act.
One of his deputies.
Okay.
So he is in charge. He was in charge, deputy governor in charge of operations of the central bank.
Okay.
So he was.
I see.
And then, unlike Muhammadu Buhari's policy of intervention in terms of the economy, the exchange, the Naira itself.
Yeah.
So one of the things he did was that he replaced the central bank, the governor so far, and then the removal of subsidies.
The fuel subsidies.
Yeah. This is actually not Tinubu's policy technically, because by the middle of this year, by June, and I think the subsidy was removed last year, but then Muhammadu Buhari's government allocated a budget, an amount of money to cushion what you call the removal of subsidy. So by the time Buhari was leaving office, subsidy was already out of the system. So what he did was he continued.
He's implementing it.
Yeah, he's implementing it.
Okay.
And the argument is that the subsidy has always.
But he seemed to have said it during the campaign that the subsidies will go away.
He was re-emphasizing it.
Okay.
But people thought that was. But if you look at by law, prior to
what has happened? Yeah, it's already gone.
It's already gone.
But a year
but
of
the government just allocated an amount of money to pay.
To cushion for 1 year, and after that, the cushion is gone.
It's gone. And then the removal of what you call it, exchange rate control.
What does it mean?
During Muhammadu Buhari's time,
okay.
We had two recessions. One of the things he did was that to prevent the slide of the Naira,
he did an exchange rate
there were
control.
multiple exchange rates, or the black market, you have a different rate.
Okay.
So, but then.
And Tinubu is going full demand and supply, like Ghana's own.
Yeah.
Forex bureaus, they decide.
Yeah, well, he made an announcement of the removal. That's what the central government announced. But then later, when questions arise, so the argument was that it's going to be a partial floating of the Naira.
Okay.
So in as much as the control has been removed.
They may be doing a rebasing to remove some zeros then.
Yeah, but then the government still retained the privilege or the prerogative of either intervening
at a time when they want to.
When they want to.
Okay. I see the point. So they've deregularized it.
Yeah.
but they can intervene when it becomes
Yeah,
important.
what they said.
Yeah, that's a very good policy, actually. If we did that in Ghana, we wouldn't have had the calamity that we had some time ago. Okay.
This was when they announced. And then when you look at another interesting thing is the development is that when you look at the current Senate and the National Assembly, I think unlike the chaotic start we had in the first term of Muhammadu Buhari, where APC had majority, but could not have their chosen candidate as Senate President. You know, Saraki became the Senate President through the vote of some PDP members, and that created rancor within what they call it, APC at the time. This one around, APC and through Tinubu's, what do you call it, has been able to succeed in imposing the party decision on the members of the legislature. Because if the list they had, the zoning, is actually what happened. Despite the fact that this...
So are you suggesting APC is more united behind the president, or is that the point you're making?
I think there was division within APC. There was this strong competition among geopolitical zones. But what happened is that, as usual, Tinubu has a way of breaching the gap through dialogue, consensus. He was able to finally get, because unlike the 9th assembly, this current one, the electing the leaders was more chaotic. You have a lot of people opting or vying for positions, unlike even the past. But then finally, Akpabio was given the Senate President, which is the party's wish. And then Honorable Tajuddin Abbas became the Speaker of the House of Representatives, which is equally the party's wish. So, and then another thing we need to look at then is, last week I made mention of two persons.
Hey, this man, Nuhu Ribado. The former EFCC guy who ran away.
Yeah. You know, last week I said something that there was this rumor about his appointment and that of Hamza Al-Mustafa.
Then, or have they been appointed recently?
No, then, last week, I made that there was rumor, but then we haven't confirmed the report.
Yes.
But now we have confirmed the appointment of Malam Nuhu Ribado
as
the National Security Advisor.
Whoa, that's interesting.
And then this is...
That is so interesting.
Then it's significant in two ways. One, it's a break from the recent history of Nigeria appointing National Security Advisors with military background. He's from a police background, more of a civilian. And then so those who have argued that people with a more broad spectrum understanding of security and the fact that Nigeria has having internal security problem, not external, civilians should be appointed, have succeeded.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
And secondly,
if your national security problem is domestic, which is what it is in many countries today,
this also falls within Tinubu's known record of rewarding loyalty.
Nuhu Ribado had been his man.
If you remember 2011, if I'm not mistaken, the year, ACN, then Tinubu's party, presented Nuhu Ribado as presidential candidate.
After he had his difficulties.
Yeah, after he left.
But is it not like a snub to Atiku? Is it not Atiku who had a difficult relationship with Nuhu Ribado, or was it Obasanjo?
Obasanjo.
It was Obasanjo?
Yeah.
Okay, so is it...
But I know at the time...
Okay, so is it not, giving Obasanjo a sort of snub?
No, but they were cool. But then for him to have been given and picked as a presidential candidate of ACN, it tells you the kind of trust and relationship that exists between he and Tinubu.
Yes, I get that analysis, that Tinubu is rewarding loyalty, but I'm looking for another set of analysis, that is Tinubu was rewarding loyalty, trying to give Obasanjo others a bloodied nose and say, look, the guy you didn't like, I'm going to make him the boss.
Yeah, it could be that.
Yeah.
But then, so far so good. I mean, you look at that, the significance of that. And then,
but civil society will be excited with this appointment.
Sure.
Very much. I mean, many young Nigerians will be very excited with this.
He had impeccable record.
Absolutely. I've seen his videos and I've seen how he was threatened and they almost killed him.
As a pioneer chairman
he left
EFCC.
Nigeria and all that. Okay, that's interesting.
But then, if confirmed, so now the one we cannot be sure, that has not been confirmed or something commented about is whether Hamza Al-Mustafa will be given NIA or DSS. But so far, Yusuf Bichi...
What's NIA, what's DSS?
Department of State Service, which is a self-styled name, but the official name is State Security Service, SSS, which is more like the secret police of Nigeria.
Okay, and NIA is what?
National Intelligence Agencies.
Okay, but who is Hamza Al-Mustafa? Who is he?
That's a controversy here. Hamza Al-Mustafa is actually Abacha's boy. He was Abacha's chief security officer. So there are those, and he was Abacha's henchman.
Really?
Even when he was...
So his hands are bloodied?
Allegedly.
Quote and unquote,
because, you know, after the death of Abacha, he was actually incarcerated by Obasanjo's regime, almost throughout the entire 8 years.
He was in jail?
Obasanjo. Yeah.
For the period Obasanjo was president?
Yeah, accused of involvement in the murder of Kudirat Abiola.
Abiola's wife?
Abiola's wife.
First wife.
And some other, what do you call it, extrajudicial killings. And then looking at the relations between Tinubu and Abiola. So if confirmed, that could be a bit of...
Oh, I get the analysis you're bringing out. Tinubu is a political son of Abiola. You know, this is the man who was accused of killing Abiola's wife.
Yeah, you know, they build their political...
Obasanjo doesn't like Tinubu that much. So if this point, Obasanjo is going to say that, you see, Bola, the guy who made you, we have incarcerated the person who murdered his wife, and you are giving him an appointment.
Even not Obasanjo, you know, the Yorubas have not...
I've not forgotten
Abacha
for the murder of Abiola.
But then...
Neither have they forgiven Babangida for annulling that election.
So, but then that would be the only problem with his appointment.
But it's a big problem. It's not necessarily only, but it's major.
But in terms of his expertise when it comes to intelligence, nobody can deny the fact that the guy is just too good.
I'll take a little bit away from that. If he was in charge of intelligence, how did Abacha get killed by international people? That's a poke in the intelligence balloon.
There was no autopsy, so there was no verification or confirmation of what killed Abacha.
Oh, but it was very highly suspected that he had eaten an apple that had been poisoned, and international people had been in because Abacha had a fleet of visitors, quote and unquote, from Latin America.
Sure.
And he had enjoyed these visitors from Latin America. And these visitors carried whatever was used to take him out. If this intelligence man is the main intelligence person, really, that's something he should think about. But anyway, go on.
But then you see, if you look at him also, I think him and Obasanjo had an issue because even as a junior officer in the army, he was empowered by both Abacha and even the preceding regime of Babangida.
I see.
That when he was even a captain, he was so powerful that his nominal superiors within the army were afraid of him.
Maybe his father, was his father a general or something?
No. He was just known to be very good. So
okay.
he had the trust of both leaders.
I see.
So he was Abacha's chief security officer, even when he was the chief of army staff.
Oh, I see.
So they go way back.
Okay, let's keep an eye on this one. That's very important. Let's keep an eye on what next.
So now, that would be another controversy. And then if you look at even within the security architecture, he did some reshuffling. But then he tried as much as he can to spread the tentacle to make sure no one region emerged too powerful.
Okay.
And these are some of the names. Okay, Nuhu Ribado as National Security Advisor, Christopher Musa as Chief of Defense Staff. Himself, this is another Northern Christian from Southern Kaduna. T.A. Lagbaja, Chief of Army Staff. E. Ogala, Chief of Naval Staff, which is more like an Igbo person. But there's been debate about whether it's actually Igbo or closer to Igbo.
I see.
It's one of the issues on social media. But if you look at the spread, so
these are the military appointments.
Yeah, these are the security, the couples.
Okay, so let's look at the map spread.
Let's look at these two key figures now. One, you know, Buhari adopted this fire for fire approach. So by bringing people with crack experience on the ground, that is Tinubu continuing that fire for fire approach. He was in charge of anti-banditry operation. You know, there was this dangerous bandit attack from along the Abuja-Kaduna highway. So, what do you call it? The current chief of army staff was in charge of that clearance operation. So, he has understanding. And then Christopher Musa was in charge of Operation Hadinkai, which is the counterinsurgency operation in the northeast. And if you look at the appointment, it's more balanced because whilst this one is experienced about the security situation in the northeast, he's been given the CDS, and he is in charge of banditry operations. So, it kind of balances the security architecture. And then, so that shows that. And then once you have a civilian national security advisor, so it shows you one, he's trying to pursue the fire for fire approach with a more...
It's not completely civilian, but there's a police COP. Nuhu Ribado.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then the balance here is that, one, you have an element of that fire for fire approach with a more civilian, what do you call it, perspective, trying to understand the bigger picture.
Technical,
so
actually.
More like a balanced...
Yeah, I guess it's...
A balanced approach. Unlike the previous Buhari government of fire for fire. And if you look at the spread, almost every region has a share. So you have, what do you call it?
And in Nigeria, the leadership of the security is important, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very important.
Okay.
And then if you really look at the fact that the chief of defense staff is from Kaduna State.
Southeast didn't get much.
Southeast has...
Oh, okay. So they have the naval staff. And that.
And then south.
The Igbo is where?
It is Igbo, southeast. Okay. So they had one. And then this is south.
Okay.
And then this is southwest. And for a long time coming, the southwest didn't get it. And then this is northeast. So it's more like a, in as much as not everyone is satisfied, but then it paints.
Has he appointed his ministers yet, Tinubu?
So far, we've been hearing rumors here and there.
But did they do a formal process like us going through the Senate for hearing?
They go through the whole process.
Okay, so
but then it's more like let me say nominal, because The problem is that each state must be represented of what we call the federal character. So you have, but then Tinubu is trying very much to balance loyalty with competency. That's one very important thing he's known for. And one thing you can't take away from Tinubu is the fact that he identifies talent, he empowers talent, and he utilizes talent. So will he be the same? But then so far so good. He's been precise, effective. You know,
what's Fashola going to be doing? Is that his name? The Lagos governor?
The ex-Lagos governor.
Yeah, what's he going to be doing?
Well, he was Minister of Housing in the erstwhile government, so we don't know what will be his position. And then you have somebody who was there before Sanwo-Olu. And then if you look at the secretary to the government of the Federation, being a Northerner, and then a Northern Christian from Benue State, and then the chief of staff, being a Southern Muslim, it balances the religious picture. It equally shows a balanced approach where competency matters, but loyalty equally matters. So let's see the outcome of that.
Let's see what's in the It might be fodder for something for some of us in Ghana.